Welcome to the latest edition of Actuary Voices, the podcast from the American Academy of Actuaries. I'm your host, David Nolan, the Senior Director of Marketing and Communications at the Academy. In this edition, at the beginning of Black History Month, I have the pleasure of speaking with Monique Hacker, a longtime board member and former president of the International Association of Black Actuaries. Monique, welcome to Actuary Voices.
Thanks for having me, David.
I wonder if we could start, if you could tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be an actuary.
Sure. So I learned about the actuarial profession when I was about 12. I'm originally from Jamaica, so you might hear my accent come out here or there. I do try my best to hide it just to fit in, but it does come out here or there. So when I was 12, I was hanging out with my friend at the time. We're still friends, but we were talking about the fact that we both like math, and we wanted to do math going forward as a career, but we had no idea what we could do. So we were just kind of chit-chatting. We're like, we don't want to be a teacher. We don't want to be, in research or anything related to that. And then she said, well, I have a cousin and she is something called an actuary. And I was like, oh, what is that? And she's like, I don't know, but they make a lot of money. And so I was like, yep, sign me up. So anyway, fast forward about, however many years after when I was in college, I actually left Jamaica with about 6 months left of high school. So I went to high school in New York and then went to Binghamton University. And I thought I wanted to be a lot of things because I still, at that point, had no clue what an actuary was. And so I just left it as a backup plan. So I did accounting. I tried accounting and, fell asleep in those classes. So I guess that wasn't for me. I tried business law. My mom said I talk a lot. I should be a lawyer. So I tried that. Also was not for me. And then prior to graduating, when I really had to figure out what I was gonna do with my life, I thought, well, I should give this actuary thing a shot. So I did continue the math courses that would help me to get there. Now, at Binghamton at the time did not have an actuarial science program, so the path that was they provided us guidance on what to take was math and economics. So my math professor, actually, he was very familiar with the profession. So he recommended doing like a prep course, which I did at the time. So I majored in both those courses. I took the prep course for the first actuarial exam, and I actually took it in college. And then I thought, well, I'll jump in, and this is what it's going to be. I'm going to figure out what an actuary does at some point. But for now, I know what the exams are. I take them. And then I happen to, when they do on-campus recruiting, I happen to have gotten an offer from PricewaterhouseCoopers at the time. And I took that opportunity, not because it was PwC or it was actuarial, but it was a job. And I had a job and I was excited. So I did take the job, and that started my actuarial career. But it's not something I would say like, I started and I knew exactly what I wanted to do because I knew exactly what it was. That was not the case. It was, let me see what this is. I have no clue what it is. Even when people tell you what it is, I still had no clue. But, it provided security in terms of compensation. So let me go there.
Sure. Well, speaking of somewhat odd entryways into the profession, I recently spoke to another actuary who became an actuary because the job interviews that the actuarial firms were doing were a week before the job interview he really wanted. And he did it as job interview practice and ended up with a job.
See? Smart guy. Yeah. Took the job.
I have to admit, I've got a bittersweet relationship with Binghamton because I visited the university campus a couple of times with our daughter.
Yeah.
And she was offered virtually a free ride to the university. So I was very keen on that. But it wasn't cold enough, so she went to Madison, Wisconsin instead.
What? Now, what her free ride was? It sports related?
No,
Or
it was academic related.
Academic?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
But,
Madison, Wisconsin. Well, they have a strong actuarial program. So
she's a nurse. So.
Oh, man. All right. Tell her she made the wrong move. Binghamton is great.
Yeah, of course. I thought it was great too. But anyway, obviously it turns out great graduate. So that's really good. So
does, yeah.
You're a board member of the International Association of Black Actuaries.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could, tell our listeners a little bit about the association and your involvement in it. And we'll take it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So the International Association of Black Actuaries is, it exists to increase the number of Black actuaries in the profession. Great organization. I've been involved for over 13 years, maybe 14 at this point. I started because I was kind of nudged to join it from one of my mentors at New York Life. She was a great supporter of the organization back then. She was heavily involved. She ran our student program, and she said, "Monique, I think you should join the International Association of Black Actuaries." I had actually went to one meeting back in 2002. And they met in hopefully none of our founders get offended, but they met in a smaller hotel conference room. And it was just a handful of Black actuaries. And so I wasn't super impressed. I went just because I was like, oh, it's a group of Black actuaries, but it was so small. So I wasn't necessarily, I would say, impressed by the meeting, even though it was great. But at the time and where it was, I wasn't thinking of, oh, I want to go back every year. However, when she brought it up to me again, I did tell her that story. She's like, no, you should go check it out. So I went, and this was actually back in 2009. And a funny thing is, the reason I went was they recognize you when you pass an exam. So you get to go up on the stage and they celebrate you. And I'm like, oh, this is good. I passed an exam. I want to go on the stage. So I did end up going to the meeting, and oh my goodness, I was blown away at how great it was. The excitement, just the environment, the support you feel, the fact that you're seeing so many other students, and it's not necessarily that they were Black students, but you saw so many other people going through the same thing you're going through, taking exams, recently graduated college, it was just such a great environment and exciting that I was really impressed. And then I had a friend there, and she was a treasurer on the board at the time. And so she, we hung out, and I asked her, so she was a treasurer, and she's like, oh, you should volunteer. And I was like, well, I don't know what I would do, but I like the annual meeting. So I said, oh, I'll do the annual meeting. So I started volunteering right after I attended that annual meeting that I was re-energized about. And then I joined the annual meeting planning committee. The next year, I was asked to become the vice president of the organization. It was it was a privilege to be asked. But I think one of the reasons I was asked was, and I didn't really ask this question back then, but what my assumption was that I was fully engaged as a volunteer. So I asked questions, I participated, I helped in a lot of ways. So it wasn't that they just saw this potential in me of being great and being the best, vice president at the time, but it was because when you have a volunteer organization, you need people that are engaged. You need people that show up and are committed and that you can rely on. And also, not to take away from the fact that I could probably do the job as well. But so I jumped right in. I had mentors along the way. Actually, one thing they did back then was when you joined the organization, they would assign you a mentor. And so my mentor at the time was Doug French, and 14 years later, he's still my mentor, which is awesome. So he's kind of gone along with me on this journey, and he's been like a staple in my IABA life this entire time, which absolutely has helped me personally and professionally. So he helped me to get the confidence, and also helped me to have this, kind of like a comfort blanket. Like if something goes wrong, I have somebody to bounce something off of, so he can help give me guidance. So that was good. So I did become the vice president that year. And then a few, maybe 1 to 2, I can't remember the timeline exactly, but I would say maybe 3 to 4 years later, I then became the president. Did that for about 3 or 4 years again, and have been on the board. So I've held a few different roles within the organization over the last 14 years. It's been a ride, a great one, but a lot of hard work. But I'm very passionate about the organization and about the profession and our mission.
Sure.
So
it is an absolutely great organization. And your comments about the meeting are very well made. A colleague of mine went to a meeting, I think it was last year's one, and she came back and was wowed and told us all about how great it was, about the validation that the organization gave to people who did exams and the celebrations. And she said it was very different than the other actuarial meetings I've been to. But she meant that in an absolutely positive, very laudatory way.
Yeah. One of the reasons I'll add here, one of the reasons why it's a different feel is because we have so many college students. We even have some high school students. So we're not limited by those with designations. We are, our population goes all the way back to maybe some high school students to retired actuaries. So it brings a different kind of energy when you have a lot of college students at your meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hope to attend this year's annual meeting. It's in Philadelphia, I think, in July, right?
August, August 1st to 3rd is the official dates.
Yep.
But you can, obviously, we get there a little bit earlier. But in downtown Philadelphia, the Marriott.
One of my favorite cities. So that's great.
Oh, great. Yeah, can't wait.
Yes.
So make sure, though, you're planning to stay the entire weekend and not just, Friday or Thursday. Well, maybe not Thursday, but Friday.
Sure.
Yes, plan to stay.
Okay, will do. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit more about the IABA because it is a thriving organization. But I'm sure you've got big plans for it this year and next. Do you have anything you want to share about on that front?
So one of the big, I think one of the things I'm most excited about is selecting a new executive director. We've had, I don't even know how to say it in words, but she's been an excellent executive director. We had her for 13 years with the organization. She's since moved on to a different role within another organization, but we've not been able to replace her as their ED. And so we're very excited. We're in the middle of searching for a new executive director. We've had an extremely large number of applicants for our role. And so that gives us a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. And we're really looking forward to start interviewing candidates and seeing what our new executive director, who that person would be and what their ideas are and how we're going to, propel the organization forward. So that is one thing I am most excited about the organization because I think we're at a point where we have grown so much opportunity lies ahead for us. And we just need someone to just steer that ship. As a full-time job, a lot of us, the board especially, we have been working as a united front as the ED for so long, and so we need a shepherd to help guide us at this point. So we're looking forward to it. Very exciting.
Sure. Yes. Obviously, when you sign up to volunteer and on the board of an organization, you recognize that there's a certain amount of work to be done.
Yes.
You wouldn't do it otherwise. But when that is sort of increased significantly because of staff absences, et cetera, that makes it a lot more hard.
Yeah. But, we have a great group of board members. We meet weekly. We've met weekly for almost 2 years now. So we've developed not only a closer relationship as board members and volunteers within this organization, but our understanding of the inner workings of the organization has grown tremendously. Mm-hmm. So we're now able to, help a lot more the transition to that new ED to help them onboard them better, because we've been thrown into this position of learning as much as we can. We're not just volunteering, we're essentially running the organization as a unit. And so now we can transition it easier for that new ED. So I think it would be a better transition, given that we've been in this position for the last few years running the organization. But a great group of individuals. And that's why it's so important. Like, you really don't find great volunteers easily. So it's been a blessing to have this group of board members just commit for so long to make sure the organization is running smoothly, because we all believe in the mission. We could all have said, no, as a working board, this is not what we signed up for. It's too much. But here we are, because we believe in the mission of the organization. We want other young Black students, Black individuals to pursue this profession, because it's such a great profession to be in.
Sure.
So we're committed to that.
Great. Let's step back a little bit and discuss the mission you've talked about of the IABA, because obviously you represent Black actuaries in the US and elsewhere, but you also, your aim is to increase the number of Black actuaries in the profession. And could you say a few words about how you go about doing that?
Yeah, there are lots of ways that you can essentially do that. There are lots of ways we've tried over the years to do that. So we have programs, right? We have lots of programs. We have affiliates. So we have several affiliates across the country and in Canada. And we have a lot of students and associates in Africa, Ghana specifically. So we've done programs that are grassroots. So our affiliate leaders and our local members will go into high schools and just try to introduce the profession, as well as talk about the career. We've done the ambassador program, which is at the collegiate level, and try to create more of a club around the students that are there and help them to advance in the profession. We've done professional series. We have a boot camp program. We have an exam prep program. We have a scholarship program. We have partnerships across the different actuarial organizations. So we've done so much to be able to increase the pipeline. And it's still a very difficult and uphill battle, just because it's not necessarily even something that the awareness doesn't start at the college level. It doesn't even start at the high school level. It starts way earlier, maybe even, elementary school, middle school, because we don't know where you start actually developing your whether or not you like a certain subject, like math, or you're more apt to pursue a medical field. Like, that starts younger. By the time we get in there to teach them about actuarial science, they've already made up their decision on whether or not they like math. So as many programs as we've done, we're still trying to figure out how to really make a mark and increase. And not that we haven't done so over time. We've definitely made an impact, and actually celebrated a large number of designations. And we can see that over throughout the years in our annual meeting, how much our designated Black actuaries, the number has increased. But there's still so much to be done. So we're constantly trying to look for new and innovative ways to reach the Black students. And so even though we do a lot of programs, and I listed out several, there's so many other creative ways we could do about getting the awareness out about the profession and really increasing the number of especially domestic actuaries.
Sure.
That's been one of our big challenges. There are just so many careers to choose from. It's not like, oh, I want to spend the next 7-8 years of my life taking exams. Like, that's not a good selling point.
Some people love exams. You meet lots of actuaries, certainly, who say, I really love the challenge of taking exams.
I've never met those people.
Okay, right. Well, The Academy did our bit we introduced a Magic School Bus book, which was based on an actuary teaching the kids about how to mitigate fire risk at a school.
Yes,
and we distributed that to all the public school students in Washington, D.C. And I'll put a plug in at the end of this program for because we still have copies available for purchase. Thank you for listening to Actuary Voices, the podcast from the American Academy of Actuaries. Please rate and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred podcast listening platform. We are on the web at actuary.org, where you will find information about our work and how you can become an Academy volunteer. And now, back to my conversation with Monique Hacker. My next question might be a bit sensitive, and you can tell me to stop and just you don't want to answer it. But you said something at the beginning that gave me pause, and that you said you hid your accent from Jamaica. Oh. And, one of our board members, Annette James, who I'm sure you know, she's from Trinidad, and she does not hide her accent. And, yes. I wonder, would you mind saying a few words about why you feel it's necessary to hide your accent?
No, it's not anything that sensitive or that interesting. So growing up in Jamaica, and any third world country, you look to Americans or you look to maybe even Europeans and you think, they have such cool accents, or even, now I want your accent. So I might go practice that, but it's merely, I want to sound like a cool American. And I'll just throw out some Jamaican language right now.
But see, that is music to my ears. As an Irish person, hearing a Jamaican or any Caribbean accent, you say, "Oh, wow, what a lyrical way of speaking."
Yeah, it doesn't go away, and so it's just I came, like I said, when I was almost done with high school, and so at that point, you really don't want to, partly probably you don't want to stand out too much. Mm-hmm. So it has nothing to do with anything too serious, but. I have a twin sister, and her accent, she also has tried to adopt an American accent, but she has a little bit more Jamaican accent than I do. But my mom, she never got rid of hers. My brother never got rid of his. But it's just, I think it's just something that, we thought was cool. And so we wanted to emulate it. And it makes our lives easier. People don't have to lean in when you're speaking. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, nothing sensitive and nothing exciting.
Okay. Going back to the International Association of Black Actuaries, the Academy is a member of your Corporate Advisory Council. Mm-hmm. And there are, I think, about 35 or 40 other members.
Yeah.
Can you say a few words about what the aim of that council is to help you in your mission?
Yep. So, we've been, it's really been very helpful to have, like you said, about 35 to 40. It varies depending on at any given time, but it's typically on average around 30 or so. But these are individuals from different organizations, usually directly related, directly tied to the actuarial industry. And so we have had chief actuaries, we have had diversity officers, we've had chief financial officers. So we've had, individuals that run actuarial student programs, HR programs. So we've had a lot of different representatives from a lot of different companies, and a lot are very senior in their company. And it's so exciting to see how passionate they are also about our mission. Like, when somebody joins our CAC, they don't necessarily understand what it is until you attend maybe the first one or two meetings and you hear our conversations. But a lot of it, after they've attended, they really benefit from the conversations, from meeting our members, from meeting others across the industry and their peers. Because you don't really always, and I know there are forums where, leaders meet and discuss things. But at this particular forum, we're all there with the same goal, to support our mission, and we can talk freely for the most part. So we can talk about our experiences, and by we, because I'm usually there as well, and I represent New York Life. So along with others, we can understand what is happening with recruiting Black actuarial talent in each person's organization. And you're not necessarily competing against each other. Now, not saying that's not there, but at the time when we're having the discussions, we're truly trying to address the issue and to solve it and to help IABA solve it. And so, as a board, as a member, it's really great to see others that are there to support us. And quite honestly, if we didn't have this corporate advisory council over the years, we would struggle getting traction at these companies, right? Because our corporate advisory members are the same companies that are hiring our Black actuaries. So if we're not partnering together, it's going to be hard to be successful as IABA. So with corporate advisory members that are companies, with the actuarial organizations, like you said, we're all in the same boat. We are all trying to get actuaries, more actuaries. We're all trying to make sure they're successful actuaries. And our organization is just focused on Black actuaries. But in the end, we're all trying to increase awareness, and we're all trying to make sure our actuaries are successful. So the Corporate Advisory Council, having their support, listening to the conversations, learning from each other, they're benefiting, but we're also like all parties are benefiting from that, from the engagement at each of our meetings, and we've constantly heard great and positive feedback.
Yeah, I've attended a few of the corporate advisory council meetings, and I think the exchange of ideas, good, bad, and indifferent, and the experiences people are having really is helpful, and having access to those ideas and the talent in the room would benefit any organization. So long may it continue. I wonder if you would mind now going back to talk a little bit about yourself and what you find personally fulfilling about the profession.
Yeah, like this conversation is also timely because I have a friend that is interested in changing careers, and he was planning on doing accounting and going back to school for accounting. And so I thought, well, why would you do that when you can? Accounting is probably a similar skill sets that with the actuarial profession. So I thought, well, why wouldn't you just consider actuarial profession? Which obviously they didn't know what actuaries were. So then after I explained that to him, still doesn't know what it is. But I said, listen, it's going to be a great profession. Just think about it, give it a shot. But in me explaining to him what it is that we do, and also showing him some resources on how to enter the profession, I thought, man, I am so fortunate to have had that conversation when I was 12 and just had that little tidbit to even mention the word actuary, because had I not had that conversation, I would not know that this profession exists. And this has afforded me so much opportunities in my life. You're pretty much, for me personally, I was responsible for my success, right? Like most people are. You put in the work, you study for the exams, you pass, you get rewarded when you pass, but you can control how much work you put in, and you can control your success to a certain extent, because everybody can study and just do your best, and you likely succeed. You just have to do the effort, make the effort. So for me personally, I would not change this for the world. I have met some really great people. I've met really great people within IABA. I've met really great people outside of IABA in the profession at work. And I just think actuaries are great people, and I don't have to necessarily change who I am per se to advance in my career. I can enjoy my job, and I can I think this profession is one that allows you to accomplish as much as you want. If you want to be a chief actuary, you can do so. If you want to be a CFO, you can do so. The president of our company, he's an actuary. The potential is there to be as successful as you want, but you can also just be a great actuary and still be successful within your organization. You don't have to aspire to be the top of your organization, but you'll still be successful and have a great career. And I think that's what I appreciate most about it. And I'm super happy that I was able to learn about this and then pursue it. Even if it was not my intention, I eventually did.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The training and the skills you develop in becoming an actuary and practicing an actuary does give you the opportunity of working in so many different fields.
Mm-hmm.
And that's certainly something that I didn't understand when I first started working for the academy. And but over the years, you meet people and they are in so many different walks of life, using the skills that they developed in their training to be an actuary to make all sorts of kind of changes.
Yeah.
On the flip side, Monique, what kind of challenges or opportunities do you see for the profession in the coming time?
I think, and I think of, technology, the evolution that's coming in the future. I think of competition. There's my accent. Competition from other professions. But and then I also think like, okay, those aside, the profession itself, I think becoming an actuary has its challenges. And I can't imagine what the Society of Actuary or the Casualty Actuarial Society, what they all have to go through and thinking about this problem, because I think we talk a lot, and I talked a lot about increasing awareness of the profession. And I think that is the biggest challenge, quite honestly. And I see that persisting for at least the near future, because there's no way you can overcome that hurdle to make all these students learn about the profession within a few years. So I do believe that that's been a challenge, but it will continue to be a challenge for years to come, unless we figure out how to get this profession in front of so many students and parents and influencers that do not know that it exists. And then we have those that are minorities that know even less about it. So I would say, the challenge that I would probably mention more than the others is just how to get more students in it. And having all these exams is not the best seller, but I understand why it's needed. And so we just need to be able to let them know why it's important that they get educated and trained to become a good actuary. But once you get through that it's a great profession to be in. So it's just we've got to figure out how to get an influencer with 100 million followers to tell their followers about the actuarial science profession. So if we all pool our money together, we can do that.
You are not the first person to say that. Oh. It must be said.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting. I think it was USA or US News Today was saying that, as is so often the case, the actuarial profession is one of the top professions for job satisfaction and salary and remuneration and so on. Mm-hmm. And that is consistently the top 5 every year. Mm-hmm. But yes, you're right. Getting people to know about it and think about it at an early age.
Yeah.
But the great thing is many actuaries start a job before they finished all their exams. So, mm-hmm. You can be earning money while you're basically going to college.
Yeah, that's exactly what I told. Yeah, because the young man I was talking to, he was a little bit confused how you could do this and not be in school. And I was like, mm-hmm. This is how you do it. Like, this is one of a few professions that you can do this in, and then just get your foot in the door, and then the company pays for you. Like, it's a great gig.
Yes.
Not without hard work, but again, you're in control.
There's hard work.
Of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're coming towards the end of our time together, Monique.
No.
Well, we can carry on, but I was wondering if you could tell me what you do for fun.
Oh, well, I live close to about 3 malls, and I keep them in business. So that's the first thing. So yeah, I do a lot with my family. We like traveling. We love cruising. We just went on a cruise, for over Christmas. And I volunteer a lot. Now it seems like it's not fun, but it gives me great joy. I volunteer for IABA. I also volunteer with my daughter's school, and I just like to get involved in things and just help as much as I can. So it doesn't sound like it's fun, but it's fun for me. But I don't have a lot of time to do. And I also, no, I would like to do athletic things, but the older I get, the less my body agrees with me. But I get involved in lots of different things, and a lot of people don't think it's fun, but it's fun for me.
Getting involved in those kind of things can be very validating. You know, we in my family, we divided and conquered. My wife volunteered for the school. I volunteered for the pool and the theater and so on and so forth. Yeah. And, we just had to keep out of each other's way when we were volunteering.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like to be social. So that allows me the opportunity to be social and to meet new people and do different things.
Right.
So, yeah.
Great. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that you'd like to share with us?
I think we touched on it. I enjoyed this conversation. I know I went on and on a lot about certain things, but that again is because I'm so passionate about it. But I do want to say thank you for inviting me here and for actually having the podcast to give people more information.
Well, thank you very much for giving up some time to talk to us. Thank you for listening to Actuary Voices, the podcast from the American Academy of Actuaries. Today, I was talking to Monique Hacker, a longtime board member and former president of the International Association of Black Actuaries. The IABA is on the web at blackactuaries.org, where they have an excellent timeline on Black history and the evolution of the insurance industry in America, as well as information about their programs and scholarships and their annual meeting, which takes place in Philadelphia right at the beginning of August. And you can order copies of The Magic School Bus Takes a Risk, a book about probability, at actuary.org/Magic School Bus.